I linked up Carlos to Chiki Kuruka, the founder of the Dance Shags. Chiki has been a dance and wellness media personality in Kenya for the last 6 years, having featured on The Slim Possible on Citizen TV, The She World on BBC, and also having been a radio presenter on Vibes Radio hosting the show Adrenaline before starting out to set up the Dance Shags.
Hi, Chiki.
Hi.
I'm Carlos.
Hi, Carlos.
Actually, Flirty Carlos is my stage name.
Are you flirty, really?
I don't flirt with everybody. So, for me, I've been dancing, but that's some of the questions I've been asking myself. Like, let's say, establishing myself. Like, how have you established yourself?
So I started dancing when I was 6.
Yeah.
And I think a big difference in the Kenyan industry and the industry in the UK is you have to really go through basic training in a different way.
Yeah.
So you've been dancing for 5 years. Let me just throw it back at you. What does that mean for you? Is it 5 years ago you decided to dance, or 5 years ago you went to dance school, or?
I started dancing way back when I was young, 7 actually. But taking it as professionally and it's a thing that I want to do is 5 years professional.
But what does that mean? Like, what does that decision look like?
Yeah, it's a dope decision. It's something that comes from the heart. So
but what changes? Like, what's the difference between being a professional and not?
Yeah.
Like 5 years ago, what happened?
Like 5 years ago, I wasn't a professional dancer. I couldn't even know if I'm dancing. I just know I'm moving. But after sitting down and I could go to dance schools, I could go to schools and seeing people dance, I could admire them, but I couldn't do anything. So when they told me can you just come and try, I started trying out from the church. I danced in the church for a couple of years, and then it just hit me one day you can do this. And right now it's a big name when it comes to dance in Kenya.
So I think that's the difference. In the UK, there's a real clear journey.
Yeah.
So what normally you do, you go to school. Everyone, it doesn't matter if you're Afro, dancehall, hip hop, whatever. Most people have to learn the classics: ballet, tap, jazz, modern. So you go to school and you get certified. Then normally after that you'll join maybe an agency, or you'll start going to auditions. But normally you've gone to a school that really supports that.
Yeah.
So there's a clear journey between there's no more certificates I can do anymore. I'm done.
Yeah.
I finished education. Now I'm a professional.
Yeah.
Versus here, what seems to be the case is maybe you'll do some classes, maybe with one of the agencies, and then it's very much upon the dancer to just be like, Sawa, you know what? I'm going to do this. I'm going to start really pushing and going for auditions. I want to start really pushing and doing shows.
Yeah.
It's just very different. So for me, I started when I was 5 or 6 with ballet. Then I went from ballet to tap. Then I went from tap to jazz, modern and contemporary.
Yeah.
Then I did my A-level in contemporary and dance theory. And then after that, I worked for an agency and competed. Now, fortunately, I'm a soca dancer, so soca is carnival culture. So on top of that, the side, I was going to carnival and dancing, and that has a whole competition kind of thing attached to it. You'd go on the ground. So the depth of experience in different kind of environments is a lot. So that was kind of my journey. And then at a certain point, I kind of felt like, man, I've done all the competitions I care to do. I've done all the shows I care to do. What's next?
Yeah.
You know, what's next? This is before the days of TikTok and all the things that you guys have now. But then it became what's next, because all over the world there's a problem with the lifespan of a dancer. Normally by the age of 30, 35, you're really having to look for a plan B. Normally the plan B is teaching.
Exactly.
So for me, I was like, how do we do something that's a little bit different as a plan B? How do I then start building up other dancers? How do I then start teaching as well, but teaching the bits that I love?
What about have you ever thought of opening a dance school now? Because in Kenya, we can say there are no serious dance school whereby as a dancer, for me, I've grown up as self-made. I've never had any chance to go to any dance school. So do you have, since you have the experience, are you planning on opening a dance school in Kenya?
Definitely not. So what I really want to do is brand dance differently. So I think because of the story that you're saying, most dancers are kind of self-made, it's really hard to reinvest back into yourself. Normally what happens is you'll get a gig, you'll get a couple of gigs, but most dancers that I know, unless you're maybe 1% or 2%, are living check to check. So the idea then of saying, let me save and invest in a video, it's impossible.
Yeah.
So normally you get your content from third parties, so by an artist or by something like that. What I want to do is show that every dancer can have good quality visuals, good quality videos, good concepts, so on and so forth, because of the message that it gives to non-dancers. The message that it gives to non-dancers is there's money in this space.
Exactly.
When you see dark, grainy content, guys who maybe have like not great clothes, blah, 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 blah,
Yeah.
it still looks cheap, still looks poor. For me, I just want it to look beautiful. Then the next guys underneath me can say, Sawa, now that parents are supporting it, now that brands are supporting it, now that people are starting to take it a little bit more seriously, cool, now let's open a school. But I think the problem with the school now is it's expensive, and parents yet aren't convinced that as a dancer, it's a proper career.
But you get some of the same disadvantages when you interact with other dancers. Like for you, it's different compared to them.
I think for me, it varies between the UK and Kenya. So when I was in the UK, the thing that I found hardest was, as a woman, normally you're pushed into two very particular areas.
Yeah.
So normally you're a ballet, very classical dancer, or you're like a video dancer. And that was difficult because I didn't really want to be either of those things. In Kenya, what I struggled with is no one understands carnival culture. No one knows what soca is. Every time I say I'm a soca dancer, people think I'm talking about football, soccer. It's not soccer, it's soca. So I think in Kenya, it's just really trying to explain what the craft is, what it looks like. Soca is amazing because it's very cardio intensive, so it's really good for exercise as well. And the area of dance that I've always loved the most is the body confidence of it, the body positivity of it. So but the advantages for me anyway, it would be a lie if in Kenya I didn't acknowledge light skin privilege and accent privilege. I've had both of those things, and I've really tried to combat that by surrounding myself with really local Kenyan dancers and not try and make it look like, I've come here from abroad and boom, and I think that's a problem that we have here. In the UK, a disadvantage that I face is just that I'm a fighter. So I didn't mind, if we got embarrassed, and trust me, we've been embarrassed. If we got embarrassed, I'd walk in the next day boom, let's do this again. So I think that was always my advantage.
So about income, let's talk about income. Like for a dancer, do you believe you can get income in a free way as a self-made dancer? Like when you're having the agencies and people supporting you in the school, which one is much easier? How did you get your income easier?
That's really an interesting question, because I was having a conversation with an artist just yesterday and he was asking me, with the studio, what's the plan? Especially now we're in this pandemic and brands are not pushing marketing content. And then on top of that, there are no gigs. Most dancers make their money from physical gigs. There's videos as well, but an artist chucks out a video maybe every month, every 2 months. A gig can be even every single weekend. For me, I've always depended on non-dancers, and I think that's the biggest message that I love to give dancers. Dance has become this kind of, especially in Kenya, and I understand why, this protected community. So dancers hang out with fellow dancers, market themselves to fellow dancers, so the conversation doesn't really leave the dance community. What I've always tried to do is bring other people in, bring in people so that NGOs can spend on dance, so that brands outside of marketing can spend on dance, so that people can really understand what the craft is. So when it comes to income, I really try and be as creative as possible. When it comes to agencies, agencies are dope, but they have no loyalty whatsoever. So if you're the hot thing one week, you might not be the hot thing next week. So you're very dependent on the agency providing, and I always encourage people, have your own hustle, have your own artists. And a lot of artists these days are super loyal. Willie Paul has been dancing with the same dancers for a very, very long time. Know who's gonna butter your bread. If it's a comedian, look at what GQ have done with Eric Amondi. Look at what Churchill did with FBI. Really know who your team are, and be loyal to them and be good to them. It doesn't have to be a brand, it doesn't have to be a school. In fact, I encourage it not to be. If they give you work on top of it, that's a bonus.
You have this belief whereby when you go to abroad, you become something else. You come back, you can see Matata. They were used to be FBI's dancers. Right now, we looked up to them, but right now they're singing and they're dancing. And their life looks like they're on top of they're on another game. So for a young kid, as a professional dancer, do you believe you can stay in Kenya or Africa or anybody who's watching as a young kid and you don't have to go to abroad to become a better dancer, or you can just work from here and become something.
It's a really interesting and layered question, because it doesn't matter if you're a dancer or a musician. We have this warped psychology where if you're loved elsewhere, you're even more loved here.
Yeah.
It's such a bad psychology, and it's not just in dance, it's in music, it's in design, it's in, I mean, it doesn't matter what field you go to, we just have this idea. I think learning is important.
Yeah.
So I think it's always important to learn from as many different fields, as many different crafts as possible. I'm always fascinated when I speak to Kenyan dancers. Like, let's say someone calls himself a dancehall dancer, and they don't know what soca music is.
Yeah.
Jamaica is one country in the whole Caribbean. The majority of them are not Jamaica.
Yeah.
The majority of them do not consume dancehall. Do you see what I mean? The same is true of hip hop. Any decent hip hop dancer should know crumping, should know whacking, should know all the different variants of hip hop.
Yeah.
And what you tend to find, unless you're willing to expand your base, expand your knowledge, then you can be really limited in your approach. But we have an amazing thing called the internet. And in 2021, you can consume so much of that stuff online. The question is, who sees you? Then you have really good examples like Dance God Lloyd. Dance God Lloyd just danced for Beyonce, and he's dancing for everyone.
Exactly.
That's because he really pushed his content out online. With Matata, what happened, their story was interesting. So if you look at someone like Freddie, what Freddie started doing was doing master classes. So he left as a master. Do you see what I mean?
Yeah.
It's not like he left, gained the knowledge, and then became a master. No, he left and Europe accepted him as a master. And we have other examples. Before the pandemic hit, Chulubo was just about to leave and do a European tour as a master. So I think we really need to celebrate the fact that Europe wants to learn African moves from Africa. Also accept that if it's salsa, you're probably going to learn it more from Colombia or Spain or something like that. Do you see what I mean? If it's dancehall, also accept that there's knowledge that Jamaicans have that we definitely do not have on the ground. So I think it's a combination of the two. Learn your craft, be diverse, communicate with people, put yourself out there, but know that we have something here. We are masters here. And when we go out, if we present ourselves as masters, people will accept us as masters.
One thing I just want to know, like, what does it take to become a professional dancer? Like, what are some of the, like when it comes to you, what does it take? Is it being respectful? Like, how do you have to be to become a professional dancer?
That's a good question, because I feel like, as with anything, there's a difference between being a dancer and being in the dance industry.
Yeah.
Those are two different things. Anyone can be a dancer. Anyone can be a good dancer, actually. The dance industry, an industry means you're making money.
Yeah.
That's the difference, right? So I think what it takes to be a well-respected professional dancer is to have a business mind.
Yeah.
People get it wrong. People always think it's about being better and better and better and better. Fine, you can be the best dancer in the world, but if you don't have a business mind, then so what? Do you see what I mean? So I think it's about dancers really understanding what industry is, how to make money, how to market themselves, how to get out there, how to make sure that people are seeing their talent. That's what it is to be part of the industry. Then on top of that, don't be a bad representation of the industry. Be the best representation possible of the industry. So if you come to me, normally the only different thing that I teach versus other people, and the reason why I've been with my guys for a while is because let's talk money.
Yeah.
I'm not here to teach you how to be a better dancer. You know how to be the best dancer you can. There's more than enough resources to be the best dancer. Yeah. But are we having real conversations about how to turn that craft into money? Yeah. Are we talking about how to bring non-dancers into our space so that we can make money off them? Are we talking about upgrading our videos so people see us as professionals? Are we talking about pushing our talent out of Kenya and into other spaces as masters? Are we doing all of that? Yeah. That's industry. That's a bit different.
That's great. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So thank you so much for having watched the show. Unfortunately, I would have loved to show you my special move, but unfortunately, but it's the Chiki dance. But if you're an entrepreneur out there and would like to be a part of the show in any particular industry, feel free to reach us on our social media handles. My name is Ian Dennis, and this has been The Business Coach, where we help entrepreneurs better their businesses.